You ever have one of those nights where the whole world just flips upside down in the time it takes for red and blue lights to bounce across your front yard? Yeah, that was me, lemonade in hand, standing frozen on my own driveway while two cops closed in, asking if I'd just locked someone inside my property. I blinked at them, honestly thinking it was some kind of joke. What? No, I just locked my own gate. But there he was, Ethan, the teenage HOA enforcer, arms crossed like he was king of the block, with his mother Karen behind him, already on the phone, probably dialing up reinforcements. You want a show? Because this is how you start a show. Apparently, Ethan had called 911 because my gate was locked, on my land, mind you. And suddenly, I realized this wasn't your everyday spat about mailbox colors or overgrown lawns. This was something bigger. The officer looked at me, dead serious. Can we see proof of ownership, sir? That's when the penny dropped. This was about to blow the roof off the neighborhood, and I was at the center of it. But to really understand how things went off the rails, you gotta go back to when I first moved in. 6 months before, I bought this modest 2-story on Cedar Ridge Lane. Nothing flashy, just a white fence, a backyard, a pond that caught the sunrise. I thought I'd found my little piece of peace, you know? Birds in the morning, dog rescued off the street, coffee on the porch. Life was simple until Karen Reynolds arrived, president of the HOA, clipboard welded to her hand. She showed up on my third day, smiling in that way people do when they're about to ruin your afternoon. I like to meet all new residents personally, just so we're clear on the rules. Huge red flag, but I tried to play it cool. Told her I wasn't even sure my house was in the HOA since the property lines had changed years ago. She just laughed it off, handed me a dues form anyway. Weeks passed, things started feeling off. Little pink slips showed up on my door. Grass too long. Fence not community standard. Photographs of my yard, circled in red, taped to my mailbox. Every time, Karen was the ghost in the background, staring, always polite on the surface, but you could see the gears turning. She thought she owned every inch of this neighborhood. And then there was Ethan, her teenage son, always filming on his phone, calling himself the HOA enforcer. He'd show up while I was fixing my gate, phone pointed at me, saying, "Mom says we have to document violations. Your gate's not approved." I almost laughed. Almost. But that's when I decided to lock my gate up tight. Not to start a fight, just to protect what was mine. And wouldn't you know it, locking my own gate was all it took to set off World War III. Saturday started normal. Grilling on the patio, Bruno the dog at my feet, birds, sunshine, laughter down the street. Then Ethan and his friends showed up near my gate, snickering, pointing. I noticed the lock had been tampered with. I put up a sign, "Private property, do not enter." I thought that would end it. Nope. That evening, Ethan tried to hop my fence, screaming about his ball. I told him straight, there was no ball, and he wasn't coming over. He stormed off, phone in hand, mumbling about neighborhood access. And 10 minutes later, cue the flashing lights. Cops at my door. Karen marching behind them like she's leading the Rose Parade, yelling that I'm blocking community access. I tried to explain, showed the deed, the property line, told them it wasn't even under HOA control. Karen didn't care. Never does. The officer asked for proof of ownership, and for the first time, I realized Karen had no idea what she was about to unleash. So I handed over my papers, the deed, title, everything. Officers flipped through, nodding. Karen stood there fuming. Finally, the officer said, "Ma'am, this property isn't in your HOA." Karen went pale, then started in with the map is outdated. The HOA expanded years ago. My son was trying to access the trail. I laughed. There's no trail, just my backyard. The cop told her she could file a civil complaint, but there was nothing criminal going on. Karen just glared. This isn't over. And it wasn't. Next morning, I found an envelope taped to my mailbox. 5 pages of violations, each with a $600 fine attached. I wasn't even part of the HOA. I almost called the number on the notice, but stopped myself. That's what Karen wanted, to drag me in, make me react. So instead, I walked over to the zoning office. Patty, the clerk, printed out official maps, smiled, and said, "You're not HOA. Never have been." Felt good, for about 5 minutes. When I got home, Karen and 2 board members were waiting. More threats, more forms, Ethan filming the whole thing. "You're harassing minors now." Karen shrieked. I almost laughed. Your son is filming me on my own property. Maybe tell him to stop trespassing." She gave me that icy smirk. "Then you'll have no problem facing the consequences." That night, I watched the stars from my porch, Bruno at my feet, thinking about how something as small as a gate lock could cause so much chaos. But this wasn't about a gate. It was about power, someone who couldn't stand not being in control. And she wasn't giving up. I started installing cameras. Inside, outside, front yard, backyard. Good thing, too. Because 2 nights later, at 11:42 p.m., my camera caught Ethan at my gate, screwdriver in hand, trying to loosen the hinges. He tripped and ran off. This wasn't just HOA drama anymore. This was criminal. Next morning, I printed the photos and took them straight to Karen's house. She looked at the prints, shrugged, and said, "Kids make mistakes. He was probably retrieving that ball again." I stared, speechless. I handed the footage to the sheriff. He promised to talk to the family, but I could tell nothing would change. Friday, I got home to find my gate wide open, the hinges missing. Someone had removed the whole lock plate and nailed to my fence an official-looking sign. Community access path, do not block, by order of Cedar Ridge HOA. My yard wasn't a shortcut, but Karen wanted it to be. I tore the sign down, noticed my neighbors watching, whispering. She was turning the neighborhood against me. That night, Karen and 3 board members showed up at midnight, measuring tapes, clipboards, flashlights. They were taking pictures, inspecting my property, ignoring the cameras glaring at them. I stepped outside and turned on every light I had. Karen blinked in the brightness, but just kept right on, telling me the board had voted to include my land. "You can't vote to take land you don't own," I snapped. The treasurer muttered maybe they should leave, but Karen was relentless. The next day, I got a certified county map, official, stamped, untouchable. When I got home, Bruno was tangled in a wire snare by the fence. Not bad, but someone set a trap for my dog. I checked the cameras. Ethan, again, sneaking around before dawn. That was it. I took everything to the sheriff. This time, the supervisor saw the footage and said, "We'll pay them a visit." Later that night, the patrol car parked in front of Karen's house. Ethan came out, head hung low, got a stern talking to. I didn't want revenge. I just wanted peace. But at 9:13 p.m., a crash, my gate lying flat on the ground, Karen in the floodlights, red-faced, screaming, "You think you can humiliate my family?" She was completely unhinged. I told her to leave. She called me a virus. "You'll regret this, Davis." And just like that, she was gone. Insurance, police reports, camera footage, I filed everything. The next morning, a handwritten apology from Ethan. His mom was not herself. I tried one more time to talk it out. Karen met me at the door, face pale, but the mask slipped back on as quick as ever. "You think you've won? This isn't over. This neighborhood is about order. Goodbye, Karen," I said, walking away. I meant it. Then the lawyers came. 2 guys in suits, sent by Karen, parked in front of my house. Later that night, I got an email, cease and desist, demands for dues, claims of defamation. Attached was a new map with the HOA boundary redrawn right over my yard. I took everything to Patty at the assessor's office. "She can't do that. The boundaries haven't changed in decades." Patty suggested I lawyer up. So I hired Clara Jennings, sharp as a tack. She took over all communication, filed a harassment injunction, and told me not to respond to Karen's nonsense. A few days passed, and then security patrols started showing up. Not real ones, just a guy in a plastic badge, hired by Karen, telling me my section was under HOA jurisdiction now. I chased him off my land and called Clara. "That's enough," she said, and filed a court order. The next morning, my mailbox was stuffed with letters from neighbors. Some told me to stop causing trouble. Others warned I'd made powerful enemies. I started finding spray paint on my fence, my driveway. Words like rule breaker and move out. The camera caught Karen, Ethan, and a stranger, big, tattooed, not from the neighborhood, painting in the middle of the night. The sheriff called it criminal vandalism and promised to take it to the district attorney. Karen wasn't just doubling down. She was hiring muscle. I caught a glimpse of the tattooed guy on camera, a black snake wrapped around a hammer. Clara said, "That's a local enforcement group. HOAs hire them sometimes." It's intimidation, plain and simple. The sheriff's office started investigating the whole board. And then, just when it seemed like things couldn't get crazier. Ethan showed up in the middle of the night with a note. She's planning something. Get out. I looked across the street. Karen's garage light was on. I smelled gasoline, saw a trail leading to my house. I ran outside, hose in hand, just as Karen dropped a lit match and fire raced toward my yard. Neighbors rushed in, helping me put it out before it reached the porch. Karen disappeared before the cops arrived, but the evidence was everywhere. Karen was arrested the next day. The DA filed charges: arson, harassment, vandalism. The HOA collapsed under the scandal. The county dissolved it. My neighbors, some ashamed, some still wary, slowly started waving again. Ethan came by, apologized, left biscuits his mom used to bake for meetings. The fire was out, but the scars were there. A few on my fence, a few deeper inside. A month later, I sat on my porch, Clara beside me, lemonade in hand. Bruno sprawled in the grass. The county certified that my property was free and clear. Karen was in treatment. The HOA was gone. My peace was back, a little battered but stronger than before. And sometimes at night, when the wind's just right, I swear I hear a voice across the street. Karen's old threat. You'll regret this, Davis. But now, I just shake my head, smile, and whisper back, not anymore. What would you have done in my shoes? Ever faced down a whole neighborhood just to keep your peace? Let me know below. I've got stories, but I want to hear yours too. Because sometimes, justice is just a stubborn guy, a loyal dog, and a neighborhood that finally wakes up.